But Frodan, I am so excited for the upcoming match, of course, Golden versus Polt. That's the first match of today.
All right, so while we get ready for the first match, let's toss it over to Clutch, where he has a few words.
Thanks, gentlemen. I believe both the players are ready. So let's give it up one more time, ladies and gentlemen, Golden! And his opponent, TSL Polt. Gentlemen, if you will please shake hands. Good luck. Have fun. We're going to get this match underway as they get set up. Let's throw it back to the casters.
Excellently done, Clutch. We're going to start talking about this matchup. Let's first talk about a couple of the players and really focus on them. And let's begin things off with Golden. Now, we did talk a little bit about him in the very beginning of the show, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
But Golden, what do you know about this guy? Because I know he wasn't always on Quantic before the team disbanded. What was your history?
Okay, so I've actually been able to play with Golden a little bit here and there. But what I actually receive from his style is that he loves to stay on very basic units, 1 tier, 1.5 tier, which is Zerglings, Banelings, and Roaches. A lot of times you see these Zergs switching over to Infestors super, super fast because, of course, Infestors have so much capabilities of just holding off a lot of pushes. But Golden doesn't favor that. He likes the solid sort of punch. He wants to be able to attack you and counterattack you and defend if he needs to. And he takes the hive super fast. Now what that does is it forces his opponent to react. It's either you do a really fast push and he knows it's coming, or you don't do anything at all and he has an advantage going into that mid-game, end-game stage.
That's right. Golden plays really quick too. Like Andre said, we've had the pleasure of having him at the NASL office for a couple of weeks where we got to see him play, even pick his brain about the game. And he was saying, a lot of Zergs go to that Infestor Broodlord, but he says that without those things, he feels like he can't necessarily play in the matchup. So definitely, if you're looking at Golden's play, you can expect lots of Infestor Broodlord play, especially against a player of Polt's caliber. Let's talk a little about Polt and what we can expect in TVZ. Some people saying that, is this one of Polt's better matchups? Probably not, but he's still really good, and he looked incredible at IPL 5. He took out Sniper, the GSL champion.
Yeah, I mean, Polt can never be counted out. This guy is super solid all around. He doesn't really rely on these all-in cheeses. He doesn't rely on, just that huge range of builds, rather just solid play. He multitasks, he micros at the perfect times, and when we see control, that's the type of thing that we always look at for Polt.
And as we mentioned already, Polt, incredibly smart player, incredibly quick player. Polt was here the earliest out of any player in order to get practice in the very last second. Andre, I think the players are ready. Is the crowd ready? We are about to start things off in game number 1. The map will be Daybreak. Andre, again, remember, this is a single elimination. Everything is on the line. Win or go home. There's no questions asked. Top 4 get the prize money, 30, 15, 10, 5, just like in NASL Season 3. I'm really excited, Andre. Let's get ready. Go into the game.
First map will be Daybreak to start things off, so a very nice macro map. We're going to go ahead and start things off, and the countdown has begun.
That's right, guys. Golden versus Polt, round 1 of the quarterfinals here at NASL Season 4. Let's get ready for the action. This was kind of like my ride to prom, by the way. It was a lot like this.
All right, so as I said, Daybreak going to be the first map. I mean, we've seen a ton of TVZ Daybreak games in the regular season. How do you think things will fare out? over here in our first game?
You know, Golden has matched against Polt in the past. They played around 7-8 times in terms of maps. They've played a few series, but Polt's had the better of him. He's won 2 out of those 3 series. The only time that Golden's able to beat him was online, at tournaments, at LANs, at MLG events. Polt's had Golden number, and Polt says he's not feeling that confident against Zerg, but again, I feel really strong and confident in Polt's ability to react to his opponent, and you know what? He's looked so good in NASL. Let's see what he's got here. Welcome to Daybreak. In the top right corner from TSL, it is Polt. And in the bottom left corner, his opponent, the Zerg player in the red. Give it up for Golden.
You know, just a couple of days ago, I was going out to dinner with Golden, and he actually prepared a ton for this particular match. He knows Polt is such an extremely powerful player, and as you said, when they met up on LAN, a lot of times Polt just had his number, and I think the latency definitely has some sort of issue with that. Golden said, though, he is super ready for this match. He has a couple builds up his sleeves. Hopefully we get to see that right here on Daybreak. Now, it is a very macro-oriented map. If you guys don't know Daybreak that well, you can see there are very accessible expansions for both these players, both the natural and the third or over here. What makes it so powerful for Zerg is the passivity. They favor passivity. They favor just not doing anything for a long time, macroing up, get that critical drone mass, which is probably around 70, 66 to 70, and then they can just explode with a ton of units.
Yeah, you know, if Golden really sees that his opponent's playing passive too, we've seen him just completely skip Infestor tech in the sense that, you know, I'll get maybe 2, 3, 4 Infestors just to have a little bit of security against maybe any harass or drops, you know, against like any Banshee Hellion. But then at that point, he just goes straight to Brutal or straight to Hive at 11, 12 minutes. And that was a style that, you know, people thought fell out of favor for a while because of Terran's ability to pressure, you know, Bomber pushing at 14, 15 minutes. You know, I was talking to Day9 about this. And Golden's a guy that says, well, if I recognize that you're being really passive, then I'm just going to go ahead and get that, quote, unbeatable army.
You know, a lot of people this day and age say, well, that 2-2 timing doesn't really work anymore. I get crushed every single time I pushed out because of how powerful those Infestors are. So let's look at another alternative so they kind of delay that push. And if Polt does not go and scout out his opponent and see what he's doing, see the early Hive tech or the potential early Hive tech, then yes, Golden will have a very great advantage getting to that Hive tech, getting to Broodlords or Ultralisk, and just overwhelming his opponent with just the right composition.
All right, so the stage has been set. 2 players already have shown the opening builders. We have a fast command center from Polt. He is going for only 1 gas, and that gives him the flexibility of adding more barracks so that he can be safe against any pressure. Some Zergs are throwing in Roach attacks again here and there, but also he can just drop a 3rd command center if he wants to play heavy macro while still being able to crank out Hellions.
That's right, and we will see what he does with this. There is a variation where you add on that 2nd refinery and you still go for Banshees, but if he stays on 1 gas, most likely he's going to stay going an additional 2 barracks and then go Marine Hellion pressure. That's still a very powerful thing to do these days. We'll see how he actually utilizes that as he starts to develop his economy. Over in Golden's side, we can see the very standard play, super fast metabolic boost, unlike players like DRG who like to go just heavy queens, late gases, and just try to take their 3rd. This offers a little bit of aggression, which goes to Golden's style. He wants to be the one that's able to, you know, counter punch and receive punches pretty well.
Yep, there's the 3rd command center for Polt. So we're going to go for the vastly superior macroeconomic route. But he's still not on 2nd gas, so it looks like he's just going to stick on Marine Hellion. He could squeeze out a couple Marauders too. Depends on how he wants to play this out. But that's going to mean that Golden is going to be the one who has to hold off any kind of pressure. Now, Golden did go for only 3 queens instead of 4. What are some of the implications that Golden can come from this?
You know, I don't think he has to worry too much. It's Daybreak. It's a very long map, so going with 3 instead of 4 is fine just to squeeze out those minerals. Make sure you're making as many drones as possible. Look at this. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th gases are being put down. That's really important to note. We might be seeing some 2-base Spire tech, which isn't too standard in the current metagame. Unfortunately, oh, look at this. It's going to be double factory. It will be Blue Flame Hellion harassment in this early stage.
Yeah, this build has been, you know, a lot more popular since MVP and Life duked it out at the GSL Finals just a couple seasons ago. And you know, you push in with the 14, 15, sometimes 16 Hellions and just kill a bunch of drones, but as Golden, he's already setting up some of the pathway to defend it, trying to get up a wall at the natural, putting his Evo Chamber and his Bane Nest at the front.
Yeah, really nicely done by Polt, though. The trigger over here, he sees the third base, nothing is up there, so he knows, okay, my opponent's on 2 base. What is smart in Golden's position? Is it smart to go Infestors off 2 base? Probably not too much in Daybreak. I mean, it's a very big map. You're not really going to be too aggressive, although Hyun has pulled it off before, so I don't want to take that away. But most likely it's going to be Spire Tech. So I think just by scouting with that single Hellion, he should realize Mutatek is probably 85% of the time coming.
Yeah, and you know, Polt is a really smart player, probably could read that reaction, but we'll see how he does. Now remember, the Hellions are a big investment. Sure, they're only minerals, but in the end, it does gimp your ability to push any kind of mid-late game scenario if you want to transition out of it. If you can keep your Hellions alive, that'd be great, but most oftentimes, you just try to dive and kill as many drones as possible. And you know, Andre, as Polt's getting ready, how many drones do you think he really needs to kill to make this worth it?
It's really difficult at this point. I think any drone kills are going to be a lot more important here because he's only on 2 bases. But I wouldn't be surprised, well, here he comes right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he just tries to pressure a little bit and then backs off. Seeing the good Sim City, he's just going to take out Creep exactly like this and just maintain his ground control. He knows he owns ground. His opponent only has the capabilities of making Zerglings in this case, so why throw away your Hellions needlessly?
Man, you know, and Polt completely faked, I guess, going for this blue flame. He makes it look like it exactly. Instead, he's doubling back and adding on an incredible amount of barracks. He's going for 4 right now, an immediate switch, and he's getting for 1-1 double engineering bay upgrades. And he did sense the mutas coming, and Polt is playing this game very well in terms of reaction and his strategy.
That's right, and still Golden's a little bit in the dark. He doesn't know whether he's up against mech or not. He only saw 1 engineering bay, very unfortunate. If you saw the second engineering bay, it would have been a lot clearer that he is up against Bio, but at this point, he still has to guess. That's why he's going directly for the main base, just to check, verify what's going on, and see, okay, I see a reactor on your barracks. I know now you're going Bio.
Mutas are darting at the same time at the third. The Hellions are also trying to pick off a Queen. 1 does drop, and that's going to weaken the ability for Golden to parry off these Hellions if they choose to move around. Nonetheless, not a lot of damage from either side just yet, and you can see both players still just trying to poke and prod, neither really committing to any kind of full-on harass.
Yeah, but remember, Polt has the advantage right now with his economy. He's had this 3rd orbital command center for quite a long time, and that gives him so many mules. That gives such a big mineral advantage. Now, Golden will be pulling ahead slightly over here with the 3rd base up already, but it looks like there's going to be equalization pretty soon.
Nice pick off on the Overlord, just denies Scout. It's always very annoying for any Terran player to deal with in terms of vision. Now we see that Golden already starting to get a +1 flyer carry pace in preparation for late game. Remember, Golden does like to go for that very standard Infestor Broodlord composition. Doesn't necessarily like to overcommit to attack unless he recognizes an opening. And sometimes in the open, we saw Golden just commit to a huge Mutilating Bane attack and just overwhelm his opponent in ZVT. But I mean, I don't really see that the case at all. You can see he's going for a quick hive before 12 minutes.
Very typical Golden over here. He is switching over to Infestation Pit and Infestors, therefore. And look at this. Most Zergs choose to go Hive Tech against Terran when they're situated or about to situate their 4th base. Golden isn't even thinking about that. This is why Golden is such a wild card in this series. I don't think Polt really has a lot of experience with this style. Nice pickoff on that Siege tank, by the way.
Yeah, just, you know, 1 muta for a tank. It just stalls the ability for Terran to do anything, and that's just going to make him more passive, more turtley. Although this is where Polt's going to mass up a crazy strong army, and he has 2-2 lined up pretty nicely if he wants to line up with his production. Golden, meanwhile, I mean, that should be a free notion to take a 4th base. There's no real amount of pressure other than the fact that the Hellions are still on the map. I think Golden's still in a really nice spot.
I do too. And he looks at the army, he sees, wow, that's really tiny. And I think right now Polt has to go to the top left-hand corner. He needs to verify that this is only 3 base so far, but he doesn't. I think right now Polt is in a position where he has to assume there's an expansion in the top left-hand corner. And that's really unfortunate because he's not going to expect this Hive Tech. He's not going to expect to switch over or at least get additional starports to defend against this. This is a really late 4th base, but he thinks it's a 5th base.
Oh my goodness, Hive's already done, Andre, and you're right. You know, he doesn't know about that. I mean, in terms of tech pattern, normally you would scan just to get a good sense of it, but it's still a moment where Polt says, even if I scan, I'm not even ready to do anything about it. 2-2's only about halfway done. Oh, and Golden's burrowing some banelings at the bottom of the ramp.
Yeah, that's going to buy him a lot of time. I mean, this whole time, now Polt needs to save up a ton of scans just to push out, and he might miss his opportunity. You can see Greater Spire is almost finished, just about 50% of the way done, so this is a very, very dangerous part for Polt. I love how Golden has developed his units so nicely across the map. He's basically saying, I'm going to look like I'm the aggressor, and therefore you're going to be a lot slower with your push. It gives him maybe an extra minute. That gives him the ability to really get his Hive tech together.
Oh, Polt moves down the ramp, but he gets immediately fungled. And that's not good. Golden can go for one more, and he does get it. No medevacs are there, but it costs 2-3 infestors maybe. Although Polt did manage to deal with the banelings at the bottom of the ramp because of the turret, very well placed. And there is one little Zergling still getting his scouting information, but that's giving Golden all the time that he needs. He says, I need to get Broodlords up, and I've already seen the push coming. Polt, can you really make this work, especially with almost no medevacs?
You know, it's very, very difficult in this position, but this is the legendary 2-2 timing that we always talk about, but it's not going to do well against Golden's 5 Broodlords at 15 minutes. Absolutely insane play. There are a couple residual fungals that he can use to help out against his push. But I feel like Golden is in the perfect position. He's going to counterattack over to the 3rd base. It's not going to do much damage, but it's going to be very difficult. Now the Broodlords are exposed. Oh my gosh, Polt is so worried right now. He has to back up.
Yeah, Polt realized, well, he doesn't even have any medevacs. The first 2 just popped out, and he's adding on double starport at the same time. We see a Zergling run by at the natural, and the doors are wide open. The Zerglings get in.
Oh, man.
This is going to do some pretty good damage.
He might do a little bit of damage to the SCVs. Very nicely done, forcing all these units back, and that's going to give map control back to Golden. Now he can start putting those baneling mines all over the place. It's really, really advantageous for him to do that, just to give him more time. Get his 5th base, get his gases going, get infestors, get additional Broodlords, and have that army that's so devastating to a Terran that's mainly Marines.
Yeah, this is like the scariest moment in TVZ. It's like, well, I spent all this time building up a Marine tank army, but against Infestor Broodlord, how can I push against it? This is like the most awkward transition. You always feel very unsafe, but Polt, he does have 4 Vikings making at a time. If he takes a very cautious stance and drop everywhere, maybe, but Golden's already on top of it. He's got 4 spine cars, finishing just in the nick of time. Excellent play by Golden.
Oh, and the mutas are going to intercept this. Beautifully done. One of the medevacs is going to get picked off. The second one's going to get picked off as well, and this was supposed to bait out all the units. It really didn't give Polt enough time. You can see all the rest of the army is being mobilized, but there's no medevac still. Single fungal growths will do massive amounts of damage. There's only 4 Vikings to this army, and Broodlord Infestor will be so powerful against this Frodan.
You know, Polt gets what he wants of killing the 5th base, but can he escape?
I
don't know. The Broodlords are moving up, but they are very slow. Polt should be able to get a nice position. He has the Vikings rallied up as well, and a pretty good spread. The fungal should not be able to get it. This is a good concave by Polt.
Oh, wow.
Baiting the armies. The mutas are not able to really get into position without taking Marine damage, and Polt is able to fend off the Fester Broodlord army.
Wow, look at that. Just Vikings able to fend this off. Really, really interesting. Now, this is one of the toughest parts about Golden. He can't really mobilize with these Broodlords too fast, but great fungals locking down a lot of the Vikings. He can't have any continuation.
Oh, Polt splitting. Only 1 Viking gets fungled. This is great response by Terran player. Tanks are going forward before the Marines. The Marines are stimming again. Reminder that they stimmed once before, so they are getting pretty weak. Polt still macroing pretty well. He has his 4th base secured. At least Zerg isn't sieging that part of the map. And Golden, he hasn't really had the opportunity to mass up a big infestor count. Only 7 on the field.
That's right, and he really needs to supplement everything, but Marines on the right-hand side splitting beautifully. It looks like he's just pushing so fast. Broodlord's forced to back up from here. Queens are engaging. Is it going to be enough, Frodan? There's
lots
just so many Marines.
3-3 has finished, so these Marines are as strong as they can get. The fungal does continue to land, but Golden does have these spine cars to fall back onto, and that's going to allow Golden to be pretty safe. Polt has to pull back. You know, this is a really strong defense by Golden, but, you know, he's lost a lot as well. He has to remake some of these Broodlords. In the end, Polt's just trading Marines and a few of his tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, he already also has more production lined up to support his 4-base economy.
That's a surprisingly impressive trade by Polt. You can really see the caliber of skill in his play. I mean, you aren't supposed to be able to push on a Broodlord Infestor army like that, and he does it with just Marines, barely any medevacs. He's been focusing all of his starboards on making those Vikings to counter the Broodlords because he's just been so late with that tech. Golden was supposed to capitalize in those engagements, and he really hasn't been able to. But don't get me wrong, he's not behind at any point. I think, if anything, Golden's still slightly ahead. He is maxed at 196 supply, but we do have another force going on to the bottom, just clearing out some creep, but that gives a little bit of room for these 2 dropships to get back here and potentially do a lot of damage.
Yep, and Polt just doing a nice thing here of preparing his ability to switch in. He's getting a Ghost Academy before he starts adding on Raven, so that's an interesting choice. 2 Queens ready to meet the double medevac drop, and as well as a big flurry of Zerglings. Polt shouldn't be able to do anything with his drop, hoping to snipe some tech, but a great defense once again from Golden.
Oh, very nicely done. You can see another force is mobilizing on the top. I love these burrowed Zerglings all over the place, just making sure he has his bases covered. And look at that, the Broodlords are like, hello!
The Marines definitely made a bad choice there. The drop still going on in the main base, and Polt's still trying to do as much as he can, being everywhere. He now sees where the Greater Spire is, and that'll give him a nice target to focus on. But for now, Polt still has to lay down into a defensive posture, because how can he ever push into this army? The Infestor count and the Broodlord count is climbing steadily here, Andre.
Yeah, Golden's doing a great job, just continuing on with his upgrades as well. I think he can just continue on and get the perfect army composition before he actually attacks, but it looks like he feels that there's blood in the water. He feels like he can actually close it out right now, so he's sharking around the map. I don't know if this is going to be a real attack rather than just keeping his opponent back. He doesn't want those constant drops all over the place, or at least the Doom drops, 2++ medevacs. Here we go, another drop at the main base, being intercepted rather nicely, but it looks like he will be able to get down.
The drop does go into the main, and Polt does stim. Trying to see if he can pick off any units, but, you know, Polt's just continuing to buy time so that he can get enough ghosts out for EMPs. Now, it's been a while since we've been able to see effective ghost usage in terms of EMP, as the drop does get cleaned up into the main. Most people use the ghost, obviously, for the nukes, maybe even some snipes here and there, but how often do we get to see great EMP usage?
Oh, yeah, EMPs and snipe is going to be so powerful. I think it's forced. You really need to do that, and a lot of these Terrans these days don't explore that option because it is very multitask heavy. And when you have to siege and unsiege your units, you have to target down, spread out, stim. There's so many things to do in those high Broodlord count battles that EMP really doesn't get in there. But if you can get preemptive EMPs before the battle starts, that's going to halt the attack and really give the momentum and the swing over to Polt.
You know, I like what Golden's doing. Small trades, like he had an extra Mutalisk, he had a few extra Zerglings padding around, so he's going to try to trade them out so he can continue to get more Corruptors, more Infestors, and obviously more Broodlords. Golden's taking the top center of the map, so he's saying, I'm just going to continue to take ground. And if you play this really passive, Polt, well, I'm just going to have more economy over time.
That's right, and there's still no 5th base. Unfortunately for Polt, he hasn't been able to make that heavy amount of orbital command centers. That's where you want to be in this stage of TVZ. You need to trade out those SCVs so that you obviously can afford a more supply, because Zerg will normally be a lot more effective at this late game stage, especially with Marine Siege Tank Viking. I mean, it's very hard to be cost efficient, but Polt definitely is one of those players that can get it done.
Polt recognizing the Broodlord army is at the main base, so he's going to push down the center and see if he can take a great position to force an awkward engagement on Golden. There are a few Infestors that are, actually no, almost all of them are out of position.
Yep.
And that's going to be really tough for Golden to engage. Polt just needs to avoid the fungal. A couple do get caught. Where are the ghosts? They need to land the EMPs. The Infestors can't engage, though. Remember, the Infestor nerf does apply to this patch. The fungal growth, the EMPs on the Infestors. They're not able to fungal, and Polt does deal with most of the army, but the Broodlords are now raining down.
Oh, my gosh. But there are so many Vikings here, and the Corruptors are being cleaned up. So many Marines left. Are you kidding me, Polt? You just broke through a Zerg beautifully. And I think Golden is absolutely going to lose this army.
The Broodlords have nothing defending them. The Vikings, they're targeting down one by one. The Marines and Ghosts are taking out this 5th base. Golden is making Ultralisk, trying to switch, but Polt's already on top of it, trying to get the kill off as much as he can. He's going to retreat. A great battle fought, but the hardest part will be handling this tech switch from Golden.
You can see very Marine heavy so far. He needs Marauders. He doesn't need a lot of Ghosts anymore. But it still takes a little bit of time for these Ultras to be super effective. You need Infestors to be coupled with this. And he killed all the Infestors beforehand, so a really well done job by Polt so far. Is he going to be able to stop 10 Ultras? That's the big question. We're going to see in a little bit. I mean, Ghosts still have a snipe ability. It does 25 damage to those Ultras, so it's not bad. But we'll see. You can see 2 Infestors, 8 Banelings, so he's going to rely on Banelings. This is going to be one huge hit if he doesn't get massive momentum here, Frodan. I don't know how Golden's going to be able to come back into this.
Yeah, but there's no Infestors. Polt just really has to split up and make sure to pick a really nice position.
Oh,
The
wow.
snipes as fast as they can. The Ghost need to get a faster loading gun, but there's no such thing in this game. Polt is pulling back as far as he can to the mineral line, trying to repair off this planetary fortress. Can Polt hold this position? There's so many Ultralists. A couple of Infestors are trying to come in. Vikings are going to have to land and do something. The planetary fortress does fall, and Golden's going to continue pushing in here, but now a couple Marauders. The Vikings confusing the AI. The Ultras are forced to engage,
Even the
and that's going to be
SCVs.
good for Polt.
Oh my god, the Ultra's getting cleaned up, Frodan. There's no support, no Zerglings, no Infestors, no Banelings. And just like that, Golden loses a ton. And you can see Polt has an expansion ready in the bottom right-hand position. He doesn't have a lot of income. Let's check the income tab right now. 35 Harvesters. His economy is not looking good, but he has so much momentum right now. From that last attack, you can see mostly Zerglings, not a lot of Ultras. 1 Ultra on the field, another one in production. There's really no substance to Golden's army right now. He doesn't have any high-tech units, and that's where Marine Medevac is going to be very effective.
Look also too, Andre, the SCV count to drone count is vastly in favor of Golden. He's double the amount, which means that this supply that's even is mostly an army for Polt. And he does have orbitals that he can kind of continue to push out and mine from. He is trying to also secure the bottom right base, but Golden wisely has an Overlord protecting and blocking with creep. Polt's fighting much more cost efficiently as well. If you look at the unit's resources lost tab, a lot has been sunk in for Golden. And it's not like he can remake and keep switching back and forth.
But you know what? I think Golden has a really nice plan in mind. You can see this base is almost mined out. There's only one really nice mining base so far, and it's in the bottom right-hand corner. If he denies this base continually, concentrates, and makes sure this doesn't go up, Golden will have a ridiculous advantage. You can see top left is mining very sufficiently. This mid base is mining very sufficiently as well. So as long as he holds on to those 2 bases and does damage to that bottom right, he surely has a big advantage going into this super endgame stage.
Polt trying to taunt the army to the top center of the map. Gets a couple units fungled, but for the most part, just trying to also pressure Golden slightly while he's able to land these Vikings. I guess they'll make themselves useful in some fashion. Now targeting down the spawning pool, and that's going to be a nice snipe.
Yes, the spawning pool is actually going to be a big snipe over here. Golden needs to remake that ASAP. You can see he is in the production tab. That's going to give a little bit of an advantage for, I shouldn't say advantage, rather a little bit of time for Polt to really start to materialize some of his minerals. You can see a small force going into the top middle yet again. Where is he going to go with this, though, Frodan?
Yeah, I mean, Polt's going to use this to try to continue to put pressure on. If Golden's not in position, maybe he can take out a base, but he's also using his Vikings to target out the Greater Spire. It doesn't necessarily matter if Polt loses. Oh, well, he's going to lose a lot of fire. Just picks up, and he's going to be able to get the Greater Spire. Excellent play from TSL Polt.
Very well done. But the big problem is going to be that Infestor count. As the Infestor count gets higher and higher, it gives more ability to deny and deny. Remember, this is low economy for both these players, so they are relying on the Tier 1, Tier 2 units, not a lot of Tier 3, so you're not going to expect that massive amount of units from Terran, nor are you going to expect that massive amount of Broodlord Corruptor. So the Greater Spire, even though it was a good pickoff, it's not going to be nearly as big if it were maybe 10 minutes ago. Still, I think Golden has a very nice foothold. He's starting to stabilize a lot more, denying these drops, denying these Vikings a lot faster, and we're going to see Golden start to mobilize and really put the pressure on his opponent.
Polt forced to stim and run away as he could have lost 40 supply worth of army and immediately backs off. Just like you said, Andre, I think he needs to focus on also putting his command center down the bottom right base, at least to secure, with a planetary fortress or something. He's finally going to start doing that, but Golden, meanwhile, has been able to do that. A couple Seeker missiles to snipe some units, but overall, still a pretty even game. I don't know necessarily say who can convincingly take this one because both economies are so low.
Well, this is correct. Going to the bottom right-hand corner, exactly what I was saying before. The plan is to deny this. If he denies this, he wins the game, Frodan, and that's what he's doing. The command center has to be forced to lift, and any trades at this point will be pretty nice as long as they're even trades. But we're going to see an engagement right now. Polt has to defend this, but look at this, 2 sides, 3 sides. Oh my god, completely flanking Polt. and this is not looking good for him.
Look at the siege tank spread too. Polt trying to hold as best as he can. These units are caught against the wall. The medevacs are trying to heal as best as they can. Only a few ultras left, and there's enough marauders. Golden, this is his last remaining army, but so is Polt, as he has no economy left whatsoever. Golden will back off. But he's lost a lot too, and he needs his mind quick because look at it. Polt has literally zero economy.
It's okay. 42 Zerglings were in production during that fight. We're going to see another round of units coming in here. He's still denying that bottom right-hand corner. That's perfect. Polt is completely mined out. No third, no fourth, no natural, no main. So this is perfect. Golden just needs to put more pressure on, and he has the game won. Absolutely phenomenal play coming out of the gates.
Yeah, and Golden will be able to at least light this command center on fire and continue to pressure Polt. He really can't make anything while Zerg is able to just squeeze out a lot of Zergling. That's just going to make it very tough for anything to happen. Now, keep in mind that Golden doesn't have any infestors out onto the field, so if Polt micros this really well, maybe something can happen, but it's going to be really tough with so many units coming in from the bottom side.
Oh, and surging right to the siege tanks. He's taking out so many of them, Frodan, but there's just so many Marines and Marauders beautifully split by Polt. He's going to really put the pressure on his opponent now, trying to take out this bottom middle. But is it going to be enough? There's still 2 mining bases.
Oh, Baneling's trying to chase after. You know, Baneling's against a pure bio army is very effective, even in the late game.
And now these infestors are really going to take it home. All he needs to do is clean up this bio, take out the bottom right, and he's great. He doesn't even have enough money for a planetary fortress at this point. He just has to focus on getting as many Marines and Marauders out. You can see he needs that PF, though, super, super fast. But at this point, I mean, I feel like Golden has such a big lead. He can maybe even let the bottom right-hand expansion go down.
Polt's going to also try to kite back, but he's down to just his last few bio and his last tanks. He hasn't really had an opportunity to remake many units. The Zerglings are going to the last base, and this is the last form of income for Polt. He can't really hold much longer. The Banes are going straight into the SCV line, and the Polt supply is too low. Golden's army is too strong, and the game number 1 seems to be coming to a close as Polt, what can you really do? He's got absolutely no mineral patches whatsoever.
No, that's going to be it. I mean, Golden is at 141 supply to 41 supply. I think he barely has enough minerals to make a couple of units here and there. Just 4 Marauders doing a little bit of damage here. But look at how much Golden has. On top of that, 3 mining bases. Golden has played this brilliantly in the first game.
And Golden able to utilize the tech switch back into ultras very effectively. You know, Polt tried to harass and take down tech stretches as much as he can, but Golden able to target where it matters the most, hitting it. Oh, and there's nothing really that Polt can do in this scenario. He's gonna have to lose this base once again, and Golden gonna tighten his grips. Polt refusing to leave the game, gonna pick up his medevacs and lose another base.
Yep, Buzz Lightyear tearing over here. Never give up, never surrender. And he's just going to back up as far as he can, kiting everything. But this swarm is unstoppable at this point, Frodan. There's nothing stopping Golden from this first game. Polt just trying his best to get a score up a little bit.
I guess so. He wants as much EXP so he can get the level 2 Terran for Heart of Swarm. A couple secret missiles going off, and Polt desperation mining at top center, but only Zerglings, only infestors being made. But that's pretty much all that Golden needs. GG! Golden takes game number 1. It's best of 5 series.
This is what we're talking about. Golden has such a unique style for the current metagame. I mean, the metagame is to go fast infestors. As I was saying before, infestors, keep safe, get a 4th base, get a 5th base, and then tech to hive. Golden says, no, I'm going to stick on basic units. We saw Zerglings and a couple of mutas. He really stopped after the first initial batch. And then he said, I'm going to get the fastest hive, get a couple infestors to look like I'm aggressive, but just back up, stay on 4 base, get my Broodlords out, and surprise my opponent. So when that 2-2 push comes, it's going to be completely useless.
Yeah, Polt was caught off guard. He didn't really have any ability to pressure. His composition was not prepared for the Broodlords. He dealt with the first fight extremely well, though. But from there, we all saw he couldn't handle the constant production. That base in the bottom right ended up being his Achilles heel. And from there, Golden ran away with the game.
But you have to look at it. I mean, Golden was under so much pressure throughout that game. You have to really give it to him for his multitasking, making sure he has his bases remade constantly, and then dealing with that pressure in the main base. I mean, I have to say, Golden played extraordinary in this first game.
That 39-minute game number 1 was brought to you by LA Bite, the premium food delivery restaurant service in the LA and Orange County. Check them out at labite.com and use promo code NASL to let them know that you support us. We'll be right back with game number 2 in just a moment.